Now, if you are having a trouble against the Stonewall, then congratulations on clicking this video. Because after watching this, not only you are going to equip with a surprise weapon against this opening, but the biggest plus point is, let's say even though your opponent doesn't fall for the trap, not to worry, as black still obtain a very decent position. The opening goes as follows: d4. Here it doesn't matter whether you are knight to f6 or d5 player. Let's say black plays knight to f6, and after e3, indeed d5 happens on the board. Well, we have the trademark Stonewall attack move bishop to d3, where, as I have highlighted by the arrows, white has a very effective plan of campaign. What they want to do is play f4 and then launch this knight on e5 with some amazing kingside activity. Okay, against this, my recommendation is you continue with e6. And the main line start with knight to d2. However, if you continue with f4, then this is slight inaccurate choice, because black can now put the knight on e4, and white really don't want to give up the bishop pair and give black a center pawn. So if he can't do that, then black has a very simple plan. In the near future, he wants to play f5, a kind of reverse Stonewall, where not only white has completely given up the opening advantage, but he has hardly any attacking chances in this line. So that is the reason why the main line continue with knight to d2, stopping our knight jump, and accordingly we will respond in the center with c5. Okay, if white take it, then we are more than happy. And the threat is c4. So all the games in the database continue with c3, giving the bishop an escape route. Afterwards, black come up with another forcing move, knight to c6. So our threat is e5, and white need to prevent this by playing f4, where we have reached the most important junction of this line. Now, if you check out the database here, my move is not even in the top choices. So you can see the surprise value you can deliver on the board, as not many white opponents are going to prepare for it. Are you ready? Just look at this, guys. Queen to c7, a wonderful trappy move which sets up the platform for our upcoming high profile trap. And I must tell you that after this, majority of my opponent continue with knight to f3, which is in fact, as per the database, most frequent choice. But I'm afraid after this move, white is completely losing. Yup, you heard it right. And before I show it to you, I would like you to pause this video and find it by yourself how that can happen from this position. Did you find it? Let's check out. The first move is very obvious, taking on d4. White has three ways to capture this pawn, and amongst them the least capture is knight captures d4, where the reason is very obvious. The backward e3 pawn can create some huge problem in the upcoming middle game, and I have attached a sample line in the PGN which clearly demonstrates the black opening advantage. So nope, that's not the right idea. Generally, the correct capture in the Stonewall is e captures d4, but here it is not possible, as now black can simply capture on f4 and become a clear pawn advantage. Surprisingly enough, this position also contains a trap that if white castle on the king side, then after queen to e3, we nab the piece. So that is right out of the equation. And the most accurate move, knight to e4, doesn't work out here, as black can simply put the queen back on the c7 square, whereupon a sample line can goes like this: knight takes f6, pawn takes f6, opening up the g file, and the point is, when white castle on the king side, we can play bishop to d7, where, as I have shown by the arrows, very simple yet effective plan of campaign with castle on the queen side and with the healthy pawn advantage, I think it is white who is really struggling in this line. So if your opponent take with the e pawn, then black can really get the free pawn with a massive advantage in the upcoming middle game. Finally, we come to the point where if you look at the database, the top choice is c captures d4, not blundering the pawn, and white wants to continue with his usual Stonewall attack move order. But exactly here, we unleash the amazing high profile trap, and that starts with knight b4, where white response is force. He has to move the bishop on the b1 square. If he goes to anywhere else, let's say bishop to b5 check, then after simple bishop to d7, bishop takes and knight takes, actually there is nothing white can do to prevent us putting the knight on the juicy c2 square. So nope, that's the reason why exactly here white has to play bishop to b1, controlling the c2 square. And after this, no wonder many white players are more than happy, as they think that, okay, I'm going to kick this knight with a3 and I get my dream Stonewall setup. Well, the matter of fact is, yup, they can do it, but this is exactly black wants, as after black's next stunning reply, bishop to d7, we get a completely winning position from the opening stage. Well, the threat is very obvious: rook to c8 and then jump on c2, which can be hardly stopped. But the biggest question comes here, that what about the move a3, kicking this knight immediately, and can't white is better from here? Of course not, as believe it or not, but white has straight away fallen into our trappy territory, and the trappy business start with this remarkable move, rook to c8. What a move! First thing first, you cannot even touch this knight, and the reason is very obvious. After a captures b4, we play queen captures c1, where the end result after the accurate sequence, castle, queen takes queen, rook takes d1, and okay, white has a threat on a7, so we need to play a6, but now we have a threat on b4, and can white prevent this? You can work it out by yourself. Black emerged with a clear pawn advantage in this line. So now, since a captures b4 is not working, the only accurate choice is castle on the king side, defending your bishop. But unfortunately, this allows what actually black wants to do, namely knight to c2, forking two guy. So white response is force. He has to eliminate this knight and then eliminate the queen, where the end result, black has posted the rook on the second rank, and as I have shown by the arrows, very simple plan of campaign is, you want to take out this bishop and then put the other rook on the c file, which gives him a completely winning edge. Well, to close out these ideas, I like to show you a grandmaster game where black finish up the white in a style. Here white continue with knight to e5, a typical Stonewall jump. Okay, black plays bishop to d6, and after knight to f3, Black also calmly put his knight in the center. Okay, white take on d7, removing the dangerous bishop, and after king takes d7, his idea is to plonk the other knight on the e5 square. But this simply allowed more simplification with bishop takes e5, f takes e5, and now f5, where clearly white bishop cannot come out, where black knight is dominating the board. In fact, white immediately made a mistake here by capturing this pawn, which allows to open the g file and still look at that pathetic bishop. You cannot move it anywhere. Okay, white tried b4, and now since the g file opened up, even a kid can understand what to do. Rook to g8, g3, and no prize for guessing black's next reply, which is very obvious. h5, h4, ripping apart the white king. Okay, white provides some resilience with rook to f4, stopping our h4 idea. But now black switched the gear with rook to c8, attacking on c1, which has once again nowhere to go. So white response is force. He has to defend this bishop. But after all of this, finally the h4 deliver on the board, where unfortunately for white, he cannot take this pawn due to the simple reason rook to g8 check, king to h1 and rook to g2, a completely demolition job on the second rank. So that is right out of the equation, and in the game white tried the move g4, but this again fails due to the simple move h3, where rook to g2 is a big time threat, and all the time in the world this bishop is really a big time liability. Well, finally white tried the move a4, so at least he can free up the bishop, but it is too little too late, as after rook to g2 check, king to h1 and rook to c2, I think game is already a goner. He tried rook to f3, but after knight to f2 check, white is forced to give up the exchange, and probably as a desperation he played bishop to a3 and then resigned the game in the view of a forcing checkmate, which I am sure you immediately spotted. Rook to h2 check, king to g1, rook to g2, and after king to f1, we have a picturesque checkmate on the board, which obviously confirms how deadly this opening trap can turn out against the Stonewall. That's it guys, I hope you enjoy and learn this high profile trap in the Stonewall attack. Remember, when your opponent plays the move knight to f3, shock him with this capture on the d4, and when white plays the obvious sequence, that is c captures d4, deliver this surprising goods knight to b4, bishop to b1 and bishop to d7, where after a3 and rook to c8, it is white who has fallen for the trap, and no matter however he plays, it is black who get a completely upper hand from this position. Thank you for watching this video. Feel free to like, subscribe and comment, and I will see you in my next episode very soon. Bye and take care.